I think everybody should say something. Again, you can say anything. You know, be very careful here that you don't need to say something good for the workshop. It doesn't have to make any sense. I always tell the actors that.
Directing the actor to come up with that big, loud moment that you wanted, and you find yourself, telling them, go louder, louder, bigger, when really there has to be more than just that. You're angry, you're happy, it has to come from somewhere. You just can't ask them to raise their voice. There has to be more of an emotion behind it.
What I tried to do with the last exercise was, first let's find the context of what it could be and where is the conflict. And then we found the word rejection, so she's rejecting him, and that's the thing that maybe triggers the final moment. But let's find the context first, and then from the context then we go less, more. Does that work with actors? I mean, is this how you guys would play it? Or?
Let's not pose that question that way. It's too big a question, if I may be so bold. What I love is how you're grappling with the problem.
Yeah.
The way you're thinking it through is everything.
Okay.
I wouldn't then ask it for an answer.
Sure.
Truly,
Yeah.
the way you're both grappling with it is just vivid. It's based on your experience, and you're taking up a real problem for solution.
Yeah.
Which is key. You're taking it up for solution. So there's very active thinking based on your experience.
You used the word rejection, and I was like, that to me is the perfect cue. Like if you looked, and for example, if it was the two of us and you looked and said, reject him more, push her harder, push, reject, for me that's enough. Like I think you guys have more of a grip on it than you probably, I don't know, like I think you have a grip on it is what I'm saying. Like when you explained it, I was like, oh, that's precisely what he wanted. He just wanted her to reject him and for him to push harder against that rejection. And it showed. It definitely showed.
The process of directing really is a process of selective compromise. Because I would have loved one more crack at it because we had a couple of ideas that would have made it way better. But there wasn't the time. And as actors, you're going to find that as well, and I find that as a director. And work with the actors, I'd often like more time with them. And I can't because the lighting guy's got a problem or the sound guy's got a problem. So I'm counting on actors coming in at a high level of performance, giving me more so I can dial it down. That's easier than what you're always going to hear. Energy and pace, everybody. Energy, folks. And I just wish we had, when we're really shooting it, and there was more time to go through a process like this. I have enjoyed the luxury of just stretching the muscles that you don't have a chance to stretch usually, and I haven't. To think like an actor.
It was interesting. As soon as I gave him a situation, I felt like from that we could go, as opposed to just taking the lines, which kind of didn't lend themselves to something violent or horrific. They were kind of more actually subdued. I thought it was, I'm amazed that they did what they did with it and were able to amp it up and make it into a more violent situation than the words were. But then as soon as the content or the situation was set, then I was able to say, get your revenge a little bit more to then trigger what we had just discussed before, where we set up an actual situation. And it was interesting with just having a little bit of a couple lines, it was difficult to get somewhere so quickly that's so, powerful and dramatic without having the whole process, the whole backstory, that, I think it's easier if you have that to bring out that really deep, dark emotion.
With how Marta was saying you would give a situation, that helps greatly as well, but just, if it doesn't work, it's nice to be open for the actors, if the director is open to what else would work, and if the actor is stuck, if they suggest something else,
that's really nice as well for us to explore, because it brings us into an area that we hadn't created prior to, and that opens up a lot of doors as well.
It was good that we came up with an idea that kind of made sense within the text, but then once we started doing it, the text became kind of secondary. I kind of think that the text firstly is to tell the story, you know, and then we use the text, the actors use the text, but it became secondary. And then I liked doing it back there, talking about it back there, because there's a lot of distraction, right? And so that was nice to be back there alone, kind of having a powwow. Specificity of the circumstances really helps. Not just like you're gonna execute this guy, like why, what did he do? You know, those things don't really.
We got the script, and the script seemed very sweet, but trying to find that that difference, and it was great because once we did it, once we found that place and that date rape almost scenario that was going on, that helped. It was just like I almost can't look at that scene as that sweet scene anymore, but it ended up making sense in the moment. But one of the things that I did find frustrating, and it's something that I always deal with, is being given a note or whatever, and then wanting to either just try it right away or even just sit in it for a moment, and then being interrupted in that moment again to be told something similar again, just to try and reiterate. It jars me and takes me out of my moment and just makes me go, and then I get defensive, and it's something that I know about myself, and I don't mean to snap back, although it happens, where I get, okay, and because it's going into me, and I'm thinking about it, I'm breathing it in, and then to be interrupted, it interrupts that moment, and then my emotions get all crisscrossed.
When I sat down, I was like going through all the scenarios of what I would have needed to explore to get those stakes up, because it happens so quickly and it's relationship driven, and and for me, having context is insanely important to make connection to the stakes. They're connected. So, and it's a great exercise because you have to be able to sometimes cycle very quickly. And I know I didn't create those stories fast enough to get to what would have made it believable for me to shoot somebody.
Yeah, these are great exercises because, exactly as you're saying, it's a chance to explore what your triggers are. And it can make, looking at it really simply, what is going on here. Something that I found that I didn't like, and I wish I had spoken up about it, with the scene that we did together. We'd get our notes, and it would be about a point, whatever, something that happens along the scene, and then, okay, action. And we were still in the notes there. There wasn't any kind of time to settle into the moment before, which we were having really intimate.
Mm-hmm.
So we were caught off guard. So you're kind of half in two worlds. And I know time is a thing, and I guess we have to draw more. But I don't know. In that instance, I would have liked to have that.
When you mentioned that
when you guys in the stabbing scene, Jocelyn and Sean, with Marta, I guess you said, you know, to Jocelyn, okay, here's the situation, you've been raped, he raped you, and you're gonna stab him. And then we know, like, boom, you got the blood, you got and it's simple. So I guess that's what I mean, in just like sometimes not academic, but overcomplicating the notes kind of makes me go like, okay, what? And then the actors don't know what they're supposed to do when the producers told the director, and then the director tells the actors, and it's like this chain of command, but ultimately what we need is blood, screaming, death, you know? So sometimes just letting the actors know, like, okay, moment before, he's raped you, now you can stab him and kill him, and then we can go, I feel like I can go there because I know it's really simple, I have to somehow get into this. I don't know.
But the thing is, not every actor is the same or triggered by the
Right.
same technique. And I think it's one of the hardest points of a director to work with multiple actors, because he's got to find the key to each one of them and what triggers that person, and build that relationship one-to-one, and then put him aside, go to someone else, build another kind of relationship, completely different, work with him, leave him aside or her aside, and then go to a third one. And then ultimately when the three of them meet on the scene, then they have to express something in its totality. It's not...
So have you noticed how these actors are all different?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could describe in your book, you could write what they're all like. If you meet your friend, you could describe each of them to your friend. Essences.
Yeah.
You know, this is part of the skill we develop, that we suss people out quickly. She needs a lot of hugging, he doesn't need anything. This guy's gonna push me around. I don't know, she's terrified. I mean, whatever you're getting. As obvious as that sounds, it's a skill you develop. And to be conscious of it, you'll train your brain. And you can switch, like, deal with him, deal with her, you switch.
Yeah.
Nobody has to know you're switching, but you are in your mind.